Hey everyone, this is Vil. So in this video I am going to show you a really interesting case study. We will go through all of the numbers, analytics and all of that good stuff. I'll tell you why exactly I think this is a very interesting case study, what exactly I did to get here, what are the analytics telling us, what we can learn from that. I'll break down all of the different costs and I'm going to tell you how exactly you can do this as well. I do also have a free mini course of everything that I'm going to discuss in this video, so I will leave a link down below in the description. By the way, every single week I give out one of my courses completely for free, so just press the thumbs up button and leave a comment down below to enter the competition. Now let's jump straight into the video. So first of all, let's talk really quick of why this case study is very interesting. So what I have done here is I put in a little bit of work 2 years ago. One time, actually it's going to be 2 times in total. And the interesting thing is, when it comes to these case studies, usually if you do something that is working really well, then you keep on doing that, whereas this is not the case. I just put in work once and then I just left the work, so it's very interesting to see how that progressed over the years. So it was basically 2 years of not doing anything, not touching this and just leaving this project alone, and that's why I think this is really fascinating. I will show you, we'll learn some really fascinating things because of that, and that's why I think you will not be able to find this type of case study anywhere else. So really quickly before we jump into analytics, let me tell you what exactly was the traffic strategy here, and this was actually very simple. So I only was using Pinterest organic traffic, and this is part of why I think this case study is really fascinating, because it's literally just using one avenue and that's it, because a lot of times it becomes a little bit complicated if you're using different traffic methods or if you're using paid and organic traffic, whereas this is just Pinterest organic traffic for 2 years straight, and that is it, no paid ads. So basically what I did was I created 12 different articles and then I created pins and I scheduled out those pins for those articles, and that is it. Okay, so if we go to the analytics, there are a few interesting things here. So first of all, as you can see, this is all just Pinterest traffic, and this case study is, as you can see right here, it's from May 1st 2018 to 27th of August, which is the day that I'm filming this. So it's basically a little bit longer than 2 years. And if we look at the overall stats, you will see that this brought in 36,000 users and 48,000 sessions. And what this means is basically that some people came more than one time, but in total we have 48,000 sessions. So now let me explain a little bit what happened over time. Why does this timeline look the way it does? So as you can see here, this was the very beginning, and we have a really huge spike where we have almost 300 users in a single day. And why this happened was basically because I scheduled out a lot of pins at once, and then we had this crazy jump in traffic all at once, but then it went down crashing. And this is actually one of the tests that I did that I always do, because I do have a complete Pinterest course and I need to know everything I'm talking about, hence I'm doing all of these different tests. And what this showed to me, this experiment, was that if you are scheduling out a lot of content at once, you're kind of spamming Pinterest, then that is not going to work, and that is actually going to hurt your traffic. So that's why you see there was a huge spike and then there was a big drop off. And this might seem that it was very sudden, but actually if you look at the dates, so the spike started around the beginning of June, let's say June 10th. And then we see the drop off really ended June 23rd. So it was around 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I guess we had a couple, maybe a few thousand visits. But it shows us that if we wouldn't have done it so spammy, if we would have scheduled out the content a little bit more, a little bit less frequent, then probably there wouldn't have been this huge spike, and rather than that, the traffic would have grown steadily and it would have been higher levels of traffic over time. So this was just something that I wanted to experiment on and see whether that is something that you can do on Pinterest or not. So after that, as you can see, basically what I did was I just left those pins out there on Pinterest and I did not do anything. I did not touch anything, and as you can see, there was some traffic coming in, not crazy numbers or anything like that. As you can see, around maybe between, I would say, 10 to 20 users per day, and I did that for a long time. So let's see, this was July 2018 up until December, so basically for 6 months, half a year, this was the case. And then after that, we did a second batch of posts, and now we didn't go crazy, spammy. We actually spaced out the posts, and that's what you're going to see. So because we spaced out the posts, we started in December of 2019. Basically, I think it was the beginning of 2019, and then we had this steadily grow. And as you can see here, one of the things that this helps us to understand as well, if you're not familiar with Pinterest especially, is that you're not going to get, you are going to get some traffic instantly, but you're not going to get all of the traffic right there at once. For example, if you're looking at something like Instagram, you post a picture, then you get all the traffic, and a couple of days pass, and that is it. Whereas with Pinterest, as you can see here, this is a really good example because this shows us that from December, so basically, let's say we started at December, we started in January, and then once it hit the peak, so let's say the peak was around, I would say here, so this was February, end of February, so we had the whole January and February of the traffic just slowly building in. And this was scheduling as well, but the scheduling of the pins wasn't for a whole 2 months. It was honestly just 1 month, and that's it. So we went through January scheduling out the posts, and then the traffic kept on growing and growing for another month until it sort of hit the peak of how much traffic it was generating. And then we can see that that peak has been lasting for a long time, and there are some downs and some ups and some downs and ups again. This is probably to do with just seasonality and all of those, the people interest fluctuating and things like that. So the real interesting thing here is what I said before, is that because I just did this work at one time and then we didn't schedule out anything, so now we can see what's the longevity of a pin that has been scheduled out, for how long it's going to be bringing us traffic. And if you look at that, so basically from, let's say, well, we can actually see that from here it was bringing in the traffic for at least half a year, and then because we did it again, so let's say we reset the results, so from 2019 you can see that up until today, almost for 2 years, it has been bringing in same type of traffic, and it has been maybe declining a little bit in the past half a year. And this is because Pinterest algorithm has changed in the last half a year, and a lot of people were afraid that this is going to drastically drop the reach and all of that. But because we haven't put in any new content, we can actually see what is really happening with the old pins, and we see that, okay, it has declined a little bit, but honestly, it's not even that much, and it's still bringing in good amount of traffic. So just to show you, by the way, really quick, I do have another experiment that I am running, only Pinterest, organic traffic, not doing anything else to this website. So let me open it really quick, and let me show you that this also shows how Pinterest takes a minute for the traffic to actually grow. So if you look at this experiment has been, I started this not as long ago, and as you can see, the traffic has been growing steadily. So what I did with this experiment was I also just did some scheduling. I believe the pins were scheduled out here in 2 weeks or 1 month, and as you can see, it took quite a while. So this was end of March, and then from end of March we reached the peak really in June, which is really long time ago. And then you have this sudden drop, and this was my mistake because I do run a lot of these experiments, and I actually honestly just forgot to update the domain, and the domain expired for this website, hence there was nothing tracked. So that is my mistake. And you can see after that, I don't know whether this had an effect on the website or not, I'm not too sure, but the traffic went right back to where it was. But since then it has declined a little bit, so it kind of stopped growing. I don't know if it would have grown even more if this wouldn't have happened, because Pinterest does penalize you if you are leading people to websites that don't actually work. So I'm assuming the website got somewhat penalized, and then you can see the traffic kind of dropped off a little bit. But now for the last couple of months it kind of has been staying steady, and again, nothing has been done here, but I'm just showing you this to understand as well that it does take a minute for Pinterest traffic to grow. So if you post some pins and within the first month you don't see the results that you expected, don't get discouraged, because the next month might be double or triple, and then the month after that might be double of that, and so on and so forth. As you can see, this is a really good example. So another important thing I want you to see from these analytics is where exactly the traffic is coming from. So if we go to the users, and if we choose where is it, if we choose country, then you will see that vast majority, 50% of the traffic is coming from United States, which I would say is pretty good. And then after that we have Canada, then we do have some traffic from India, but then also United Kingdom, Australia, France, South Africa, Germany, Philippines, Morocco. So as you can see, the traffic isn't also just traffic from some countries that don't really have as much money to spend on your goods or services, but a lot of this traffic is from countries that actually have very high consumer spending. And by the way, Pinterest has the highest average order out of all social platforms, so these users are not just from good countries, but they do have a lot of money that they can spend. So just let me show you what is happening right now to get a little bit better understanding. So let's say if we choose last 30 days, you will see that in the last 30 days we had 2,200 sessions in total. So this is kind of what it looks like now without me doing any work or anything, literally not touching anything. There are still 2,200 people coming into the website every single month. Okay, so now let's look at the cost, because even if you drive a lot of traffic, if you're spending a ton of money on the traffic, it really doesn't matter. So we really want to have high return on investment. So first of all, as I already mentioned, we had 12 articles in total made for this website. I didn't do these articles myself. This was just a test, just something that I wanted to experiment with. These were very simple articles, 500 words each, and the written part of the article only costed me $5. Yes, you can get articles written for as cheap as that. I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous. I will leave some links down below in the description of some writers that I know are pretty good if you want to get some content written for a very cheap price as well. So 12 articles in total cost me $60. And so then after the articles were done, the next thing what I needed was to actually create the pins and schedule the pins out. So I got my virtual assistant to do that for me. And again, because these are very basic tasks, they are not complicated at all. It was very cheap, so I only paid $30 to schedule out those couple hundred pins. And then I also use Tailwind because it's just very useful, and it makes sense for me to just use this software rather than pay more money for my virtual assistant to keep on going on Pinterest and scheduling out everything manually. So for Tailwind, because I did this, as you saw from the analytics, I did this in 2 times. So I had the scheduling out at the May of 2018, and then I had another time in 2019. So in total, I used 2 months of Tailwind subscription, and that costed me $30. So in total, the whole cost was $120. And to be completely transparent, you do have to also take other things into consideration as well. So for example, when it came to choosing topics for those 12 articles, I did that myself. I chose those topics myself. This is something that you could outsource, but just because I found it interesting, I decided to do it myself. Another thing what I did myself was I created the pin designs, and this is again something that you can actually just purchase templates. So I will leave some links. My team can make some templates for you, and you can purchase them for very cheap price and just use those templates, so you don't need to do it yourself, or you can actually even hire someone if that's what you want to do. But in this case, I decided to do the designs myself, and I honestly didn't spend much time. Honestly, the designs are fairly ugly, but as you can see, they were still working. But this is something that you still need to consider as part of the costs, whether you are spending your own time or you're actually buying the presets or you are hiring someone to do that for you. So the results so far, and I say so far because as you saw, the traffic keeps on coming. So if I wouldn't do anything and I would just leave it as it is, the traffic would still be coming probably for months and months, maybe even years. It's been already 2 years, so maybe it would continue for years. And right now, as of making of this video, as you saw, 48,000 visits in total. So if we divide $120 that I spent by 48,000 visits, that means that we paid $0.0025 per one visit, per one person coming from Pinterest to my website. That's 1/4 of a cent for a visitor to come to your website. I don't care what you say, but I don't believe that you can find a cheaper traffic source than this, and 1/4 of a cent for a user, and a really good quality user. And in a second I'll tell you what the niche is as well, and that makes it even more valuable. So aside from the insane cost, there are some additional things that make this even better. I think I don't know if you can believe that this can be even better, but so I'm not going to tell you what the exact niche is, because I do still plan on using this account and even probably doing more work on it. But one thing I can tell you is that it is in a business niche. And as you probably know, or you can probably just logically assume, business niches are really expensive. So if I would be running ads in a business niche, then the ad cost would be insanely high. This niche specifically is probably one of the highest ad costs out there. So there are a lot of variables, obviously, of which platforms I choose, what type of ads, and all of that. But I would say that for this specific niche, to get same amount of traffic what I got to the website would probably cost me anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000, which is a little bit of a difference from $120. I do have to admit that paid traffic would be much faster. You wouldn't need to wait for 2 years, but at the same time, this was just an experiment. So if you actually would put in more work, you could get that same amount of traffic much faster than 2 years. Another thing to consider from this experiment is that this niche was actually a very small niche, because I do know that sometimes people have questions. If you have a niche that's not popular on Pinterest, can that niche still bring in a lot of traffic? And this niche was actually very tiny. So you know how sometimes when you type in the words on Pinterest and they have suggestions for you, autocomplete suggestions, So when I was typing in keywords for this specific niche, nothing was coming up, but there is still a fairly good amount of traffic that you can bring to your website from Pinterest. So I am saying this A, to encourage you that even if you have a niche that you don't think is popular on Pinterest, still give it a go, and B, to show you that these are the numbers with a tiny niche. So if you have a bigger niche that is actually popular on Pinterest, then these numbers could be way bigger, and you could literally be bringing in 50,000 of users every single month rather than those 2 years. So what have we learned from this case study? Because I'm not just doing this for fun, even though I do find it really fun, but I'm actually doing this because, as he said, I have been building out a Pinterest course, and I'm trying to understand as much as possible and really learn a lot, everything there is about Pinterest. So first of all, we learned that organic traffic, only organic traffic, can work really well, so you don't need to necessarily spend a lot of money. Pinterest ads are actually, I think, the best ads right now, so I'm not saying that don't use ads. Definitely do use ads if that makes sense for you, but I wanted to show with this case study that even if you don't want to invest money, because I know not everyone wants to invest money into ads or don't have the budget to do so, even with free organic traffic, you can drive a consistent amount of traffic to your website. Another thing we learned from this example was that spam can kill your reach. So don't go overboard when you do Pinterest marketing, because Pinterest is going to punish you for that, and it's going to kill your reach. Another very important thing that I know a lot of people got discouraged about is that it takes a few months to see the full potential of the work that you put in. A lot of times I see people pinning up 10 pins and not doing anything, and then just expecting that in the first week they're going to get thousands and thousands of visitors, which can happen if you have incredibly amazing content and those pins go viral, but most of the time, let's be honest, that's not going to be the case. So it's going to take a little bit of time. So you do, if you want to pursue organic traffic, you do need to be a little bit patient. And the last and the most important lesson that we learned from this is that old pins can bring in traffic for a long time. This is very important case that we learned from this, and there are no other facts that came into the play. So really, you cannot deny that those pins are not still bringing in traffic for months and months and months to come, and that just shows you how powerful Pinterest can be and how good of a return on investment it is compared to all of the other social media. I do love Instagram, but at the same time, if you put in some work, it's going to bring the results, and then after that it's going to die. So you consistently need to put in more and more work, whereas with this, you can put in some work and then you can sit down and relax and basically have passive income coming in for you. So how can you do this yourself and recreate this yourself? So in a nutshell, this is a very simple concept. Obviously, there are a lot of different variables, hacks, tricks, and all of that, and I'm not going to go through all of this. I spent a lot of time testing things out, learning things, so I have created a full out course. I might reveal some of the things over time, so do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see some of those tips. But basically, in the nutshell, what you can start doing right now, even if you don't want to take a course, you simply just need to create some articles, capture leads using those articles, have offers in the articles, create pins, schedule out pins using different tools, and that is it. And you just start driving traffic to your website. So first of all, let's get on the creating articles. Let me give you a few tips. So I know when it comes to this, and when I say you need to create articles, a lot of people are very negative about this, and they say, hey, I'm not a blogger, I don't want to be creating articles, I am selling products or I am selling services. And the thing that you need to understand that it doesn't matter what you are selling, what you're using Pinterest for. You just need to get the traffic, and then you can use that traffic to make money in any way that you want to do. So really, what you do with these articles is you can use these articles, and I want to emphasize on this is important, use these articles as descriptions or sales pages. So literally in some cases you can just take the product or service description or the landing page and just create pins for that page. Obviously sometimes you want to go a little bit deeper and you actually want to create some content, but just to give you as example, with the content that you create, you can actually use that content just to describe your products through the content, if that makes sense. If you can't be bothered to do that and that seems like too much work, what you can also do is you can have just generic articles that are not directly selling your products, and then you can just have basically what I like to call banner ads. So within the article you can just put in an ad that has some sort of offer that's a really good offer and that is going to entice people to click through and purchase your product or service, or perhaps you want to capture a lead or something like that, so you can just put that within the article. The cool thing here is because it's not Google SEO traffic, we don't really care about the length of the article, so you don't need to have 2,000 or 4,000 word articles with keywords and all of that. Really, you can just have a small article, because all that we really care about here is that people click on that pin from Pinterest and they go from Pinterest to your website, and then once they are on your website, then it is down to you how exactly you want to turn them into your customers. So because the article length and all of that doesn't really matter, you can create a lot of articles really quick, and once again you can outsource this for a very cheap price. I will leave some recommendations down below. So when it comes to creating pins for your articles, there are a few different ways how you can go about doing this. So first of all, you can just purchase some templates and you can just use those templates, so that's going to save you up a lot of time. I will leave a link if you want. You can purchase some templates from me, but you can also find some other people selling templates as well. Another thing you can do is you can hire a designer who is going to make templates for you. So again, you can outsource this fairly easy. That's probably going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's not going to be a crazy cost. One tool that I will recommend, and by the way, all the tools that I recommend I do have special discounts for, so again links down below in the description, but I would definitely suggest to use Canva. It just makes the whole process very quick and efficient, and this is how I managed to get one of the things. I teach a lot of things how to create pins in my course, but this is one of the things how I managed to get a lot of pins done for me for very low cost. Another tip is have multiple pins per one article. So this is a mistake that I see a lot of people do. They publish an article and they create one pin for that article and that is it. But having multiple pins is not against Pinterest rules. There might be in terms of how many pins you are creating, so don't go too crazy, but you can have more than one pin per article. So basically what you want to do, you want to just get more out of your investment, because you paid someone or you invested your own time to create those articles. You want to maximize how much reach you're going to get from those articles. So do make sure to create multiple pins for one article. So a few mistakes that I see a lot of people making, and this is something that if you decide to go with Pinterest and apply some of these things, I don't want you to do this. First of all, a lot of people just send traffic directly to their product or their service, and they just repin basically images from the product or the service. And yes, you can drive traffic through that. There are different methods that I teach how you can do that, to optimize that and get the most traffic out of that. But honestly, that is probably the weakest way how you can drive traffic from Pinterest. I know it takes extra time and no one wants to spend extra time. That's why I have been saying a lot that you can outsource this, you can outsource that, and all of this. So I would really say that take that extra step and create specific content that works well on Pinterest, and then you are going to get that return on your investment, rather than if you're just repinning everything that there is and you don't really care how you're doing it and all of that. That's not going to bring you results, honestly. If you're just going to do that, I see a lot of pages that just do that and they don't get any results, and then they say Pinterest doesn't work for me. But if you do it proper, if you actually learn all the ins and outs of Pinterest and you create the specific content and you create it in a good way, then you are going to get good results, and really just use that as a tool for you to sell. I can't emphasize enough that really you don't just need to create something that drives traffic, but you can create something that drives traffic plus helps you to sell. Few last important things to keep in mind if you're going to do this. First of all, do keyword research. So I see a lot of people that just pin pins and they don't really optimize them at all. They don't do any research or anything like that. So do some keyword research, because Pinterest is a search engine, so you want to optimize it to actually appear when people are looking for certain things. Another thing, what we already learned from the analytics, is do not spam, because Pinterest is going to kill your reach, or even worse, they might actually ban your account. Another tip that's very useful is use scheduling tools. So again, I do have a special promo for Tailwind. I will leave it down below in the description, but it just saves up a lot of time, and it also allows you to schedule out your pins within intervals. So you don't want to just go to Pinterest and schedule out all of the pins that you have all at once. That's not going to do you much. That's going to actually show Pinterest that you are just spamming. That's what happened in the analytics example. What you really want to do is you want to use Tailwind to schedule out your pins within intervals to get more from what you are doing. It does cost a little bit of money, but it's going to save you a lot of time if you would be doing that manually, and it's going to make the whole process just easier. And lastly, I would say Pinterest has analytics, so you can go to analytics and you can see how different pins are performing, what is getting a lot of impressions, what is getting a lot of saves, what is most importantly getting a lot of clicks. So find out what is working really well and then double down on that type of content. So really hope that you found this case study interesting. I just love geeking out about this kind of stuff. I hope this is going to inspire you to use Pinterest for your business. It is absolutely amazing. As I said, I do have a free course that you can find down below in the description, and whether you want to get a full out course and learn everything there is about Pinterest, or if you don't need to do that, you can still go on Pinterest and you can still, through try and error, you can still figure out how you can get some good results. So if you found this video useful, make sure to press thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, put on those notifications so you see every single time when I upload a new video. Stay awesome, and I'll see you soon.